The promise of the Saturn view. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the courthouse, casting long, golden shadows across the polished wooden benches. In the center of this temple of justice stood the Honorable Judge Judy, a woman whose reputation for clarity and firmness preceded her. Today, the air was thick not with malice, but with a heavy weight of friendship that frayed at the edges. Case number 3148 was about to begin, featuring the plaintiff, Ilana Junius, and the defendant, Carla Walsh. Chapter 1. The Bread of Kindness. The story did not begin with a car or a contract. It began with the steam of a hot meal and the quiet streets where those forgotten by society sought refuge. Ilana Junius was a woman of industry and empathy. While she made a modest living flipping cars, buying them from marketplaces or neighborhoods, and having her mechanic of over 20 years restore them to health, her true passion lay in service. Ilana would cook large portions of food, filling her vehicle with the scent of seasoned meat and vegetables, and drive to the spots where the homeless gathered. It was here, near a building where the shadows stretched long, that she first encountered Carla Walsh. "I am going to bring food," Ilana had told her that day, her voice warm and inviting. "If you want a plate, be right here in about 20 minutes or 25 minutes, and I will be through." They became friends, bound by the shared space of neighborhood, and the simple act of a meal offered without expectation. For a time, their bond was one of mutual respect. But as autumn approached in the year 2023, a new element entered their friendship: the need for a vehicle. Chapter 2. The Ghost of the Impala. By September, the two women began discussing a business arrangement. Carla, a former bus operator who had recently faced the hardship of being fired, needed a reliable way to navigate her world. Her son, a hard-working young man employed at Caterpillar in Lafayette, Indiana, also relied on the stability of a car to maintain his 10-minute commute. In the quiet of an apartment balcony, looking out over the city, the two women sat down to draft an agreement. In Carla's mind, the deal was for a Chevy Impala, a car she believed ran perfectly. However, the tides of the marketplace are often unpredictable. The Impala faded from the conversation, and in its place stood a 2004 Saturn Vue. The contract was a rough draft, born from late hours and a busy schedule. It stated a full price of $3,000, with bi-weekly payments of $130 starting in the month of October. It was a standard as his agreement, warning that missing two payments would lead to repossession. Ilana believed she was helping a friend. Carla, however, felt a growing sense of unease. When the time came to finalize the deal on the 28th of September, they drove together to the Department of Motor Vehicles in the very Saturn Vue that would soon become the heart of their dispute. Chapter 3. The Weight of the Signature. At the Department of Motor Vehicles, the transition of ownership was made official. The title was issued, naming Carla Walsh as the owner and Ilana Junius as the lien holder. To the state of Indiana, the matter was clear. To the two women, the reality was far more complex. Carla felt the Saturn Vue was not the vessel of hope she had imagined. To her, the car felt like garbage, a collection of metal and plastic that needed a front-wheel alignment, new tires, and bearings. She felt manipulated, believing the contract she signed was intended for the ghost of the Chevy Impala, not this 2004 Saturn. "Wait!" The judge's voice cut through the tension in the courtroom like a bell. "You are a big girl. You have a grown child. You knew what you were buying." Ilana stood firm, her son by her side. She had spent her own money to get the car fixed as much as possible, using a mechanic she trusted for over 20 years. She saw the car as a fair deal for $3,000, a price intended to reflect its used condition. Chapter 4. The Testimony of the Son. The judge turned her attention to Carla's son. He was a pillar of quiet strength, a young man who worked full-time and lived with his mother. He stood in the courtroom, his presence a reminder of the practical needs that drive such human conflicts. "How many times did you drive the Saturn to work?" the judge asked. 2 weeks. The young man replied honestly. From the 1st of October until his job ended on the 30th of October, he had used the vehicle to reach Caterpillar. His testimony was a turning point. If the car was truly junk, as his mother claimed, it could not have sustained a daily commute for half a month. The young man admitted that the car was undrivable until it was fixed, but once it was repaired, it became a functioning part of their lives. Ilana had eventually repossessed the car from his place of business when the promised payments did not materialize. The friendship had officially dissolved into a series of heated text messages and legal threats. Chapter 5. The Lessons of the Law. In the courtroom, the truth began to settle like dust after a storm. Judge Judy looked at the documents, the title, the rough draft of the contract, and the records from the Department of Motor Vehicles. "The contract you signed was for the car you took possession of," the judge explained, her tone softening but remaining firm. "You cannot drive a car to work for 2 weeks and then claim it as a phantom vehicle from a different agreement." The case was a lesson in the importance of clear communication and the sanctity of a signature. But more than that, it was a reflection on the fragility of human connections when money and desperation intersect. Ilana Junius had started with a plate of food and a desire to help. Carla Walsh had started with a need for stability in a difficult time. Though the court would decide the financial outcome, the true value of the day lay in the realization that honesty and clarity are the only foundations upon which a lasting bridge can be built. As the parties prepared to leave, the judge's words echoed in the silent hall. A used car is sold as is. A signature is a promise. And a friendship, once broken over the gears of a machine, requires more than a mechanic to fix. The 2004 Saturn Vue, once a symbol of conflict, now stood as a testament to the hard truths of the world. But in the hearts of those who listened, there was a hope that from the wreckage of this dispute, a new understanding of responsibility and kindness might grow. The court adjourned, leaving the echoes of justice to linger in the afternoon air.